Good morning. Welcome to Create and Craft. I'm Natasha McCarthy. This hour is all about the quilting. And for quilting, it means it's all about Jennie Rayment. Hello.
Thank you.
How are
to see
you?
I'm very... Oh, just not my glasses, Griffy.
Oh, sorry
It's the
about
excitement of the show.
I know.
You see, well, I've only got little ears, and they sort of perch on top of the little ears, or on the end of my nose, so I can look at you. You see, give you the death stare.
Ooh.
Right, we have some
Sunday
interesting
morning?
things. Yes, they're not doing the classroom properly.
Oh no, the look.
Or
The look.
they're all sitting out there in their gym jams with their coffee, and we're here, and we've been up since Sparrow, what's it?
5 o'clock.
I know, 3:10. Okay,
Well, yes.
shall we tell them what we've got?
Let's have a run through and then we can get on with learning.
Yes, with learning.
Yes.
And you can go and have a sit down and have another cup of coffee.
Let's start here.
Okay, right, this is a rather super little ruler. We've not had this on the show very often. It's a 4.5 inch wide by 14 inches long.
It's always very popular when we do
Yes.
have it on.
But one of the nice things about it is it has a slot to mark your 1/4 inch. Now, I find that ruler particularly useful because it's not too big, it's not too small. It's a bit like the bowls of porridge in Goldilocks.
This is the Goldilocks of rulers.
It is. It fits neatly in my bag. I don't snap it when I walk through the classroom door and get overexcited. It does. If we put a bit of card behind it, they can see the numbers. It has all the markings on it. And of course, if you use it in conjunction with the mat, the fact that it's 4.5 inches wide is irrelevant because you can use the markings on the mat. So that ruler, good classic little ruler, great to put in your bag, great for the 1/4 inch, marks all the various degree angles, neat little bit.
Off you go.
Off you go.
Job done. If you want to get your hands on that, it is just £10.99, which means that if you're part of the club, you're only going to be paying £9.89.
What?
Did you
Well,
know?
No, I didn't. No,
you
I
wanna
looked
get one?
online beforehand. Yeah, well, I've got one.
Do another one?
Yes, please. Okay, right, now we've had this big boy on the show before. We had this big boy
It is a
on.
big boy, isn't
Yes.
it? Real big boy.
I used it for doing this bag.
Uh-huh.
Now, this is the famous JR Tote, which is made out of, strange enough, triangles. And this bag
The
appeared...
JR Tritote. That sounds like something out of Dallas.
Coffee.
That's amazing.
Well, you know, I believe in sort of waving my name around. Jennie Rayment Tritote, the JR Tritote. It's also in this book. And some people,
Dallas.
some people are happy using the ruler and cutting
Mm-hmm.
an angle, but some people like to cut the specific shape and
Does
know
this
they're
make it
correct.
easier?
It makes it easier.
go
And
for
I'm
easy.
using that today to make my most amazing tablet device.
Tablet device.
Have you seen my tablet device?
I haven't.
This is my tablet device.
It's kind of 21st century
It is
meets
indeed.
the pyramids.
That's right. You see,
amazing.
It's a squishy pyramid upon which you can prop up your tablet, your various e-readers or anything like that, or any other electronic device, or maybe a book. You could make it any size.
Lovely.
With that thing, you could make it 12 inches, or of course you can move the ruler in a little bit and extend the sides and make it even bigger.
I like
So
this.
this is a bit of silly nonsense just for something to begin with.
But we all have tablets. We all have books. And they're always
propping
awkward.
it up,
Yes.
you see? Means you
Yes.
can lie in bed, staring at me if you wanted to, doing the show, on your tablet, propped up, on your neat little pyramid you've made out of colour coordinating fabrics that match your boudoir.
And it's not actually taking up that much fabric.
No,
It's a nice
no.
scrap little project,
yes,
that one.
absolutely. Could
Nice.
be made out of crazy patchwork.
But you need this. Do you know how much it is? £15.29. Bargain.
Bargain, absolute bargain. Yeah, pop it
£2.95,
in your bag.
£3.91. Pops that in your bag. Now,
Right,
talk about
next.
this.
Okay.
Slash and
Now,
circle.
this is, I'll cut mine's
Sounds
out
a
the
bit
box.
brutal, Jennie.
It does, but now this is one of these rulers that's also marked out. If I have it round the right way, you might even be able to read it.
All marked out upside down.
Right, it's marked out and upside down. This is done in centimetres. Now, there
Good.
are many times in the patchwork world when you get a pattern and it's in centimetres and you
Good.
can't work because all your tools are in inches. So that's one plus point for it. But the reason why I like it is it does degrees and angles and circles. And I can use this, and you'll see when we start the classroom, I can use it to mark my tuck circles, I can use it to mark my flowers, I can use it for cutting out circles for the Japanese folded I'm going to do. But in addition, it's got a wiggly line. This is a great design for doing a wiggly quilting. Or you could use this, wiggles across your fabric in that nice exact pattern, and then slash through it with your clover slash cutter, so you get a wiggly slash pattern. We've had this on before. And it was on, in fact, on the last classroom that I did when I used it for marking, and the PDF that is written all shows exactly how you use this particular ruler. So that's on the show.
That's very clever. £17.99 if you want to do circles and slashings. Easy.
And measurings and angles.
And measurings and angles. All of that for just £17.99 if you're part of the club. 291379 is the item number there. Now, patchwork ruler.
A square.
A square.
We
It is a
all
square.
need a square for doing something.
Yeah.
And that's just, again, a neat little square. It's, again, the same sort of thing. It will pop in your bag. You're not going to break it. You've got the angle across it, so you've got your bias cut. It's marked out in 8ths. It's the usual stuff that you get with a square. Nice piece of thick acrylic.
Angles on it too.
Yeah, marked out very clearly. And, of course, you can see the red markings on the fabric very simply.
That is little basic things like that, isn't it?
Do make a difference.
Yes.
There are 1 or 2 rulers around that should be totally nameless, whose marks I find very hard to read. These marks are pretty easy to read. In an ideal world, you want several rulers, because if you have got a red fabric, obviously you're going to lose some of the lines. But you can see it very clearly against the green cutting mat. So it's horses for courses, but that's a nice, neat little square.
Excellent. If you want to grab that, £9.89. Pop it in your basket. 306 029 is your item number there. Now, what would you want to look at?
Right,
this?
we've got the slash cutter.
So this is the slash cutter.
This
that's
is
going
the
to go with the
slash
circle
cutter.
and slash
yes.
ruler.
But how you use the slash cutter is you take a pad of fabrics. So I've got various layers. In fact, I've got a thin wool on the top and on the bottom.
Right.
You sew lines of stitch, and this is where our little sewing machine we've got on the show will be absolutely ideal. Using the longer cutter, you insert the cutter in between the lines of stitch and you just push. And as you push, it slits all the layers, making the chenille effect. And if you brush it, and indeed if you wash it and tumble it, you get this wonderful furry effect. But if you didn't want straight lines, you could have sewn wiggles. And this is the wiggly part that I've cut out because I was going to use it. Wiggles out of that.
The slash and circle ruler?
Because I wanted to have a cat. This is part of one of the things, unfinished project. So my cat has a slightly wiggly line. But, of course, it comes also with a much smaller section. Now, this smaller section allows you, A, to cut the wiggles easier, and B, it allows you to cut circles. So you could draw circles with the circular part of the slash and circle ruler, and then you put this little bit on your cutter, because that little bit is small enough to get in the groove and cut round.
In the groove on a Sunday morning.
Circular chenille bits.
That's pretty impressive.
I like
That's
this
a
tool.
natty bit of kit,
and
isn't
it uses
it?
up all your scraps. So you just get a wodge of fabric, stitch them all together in parallel lines, wiggly lines, circular lines. Either use the long cutter or the short cutter, cut round, and you've got this slashed effect. And makes bags, makes clothing, makes table mats, and it gets rid of all the scraps from out of your scrap pile. And you can use any fabric you like. One word of caution, though, is you never cut through the backing fabric.
Right.
Because if you cut through the backing fabric by accident, you'll end up with 2 pieces or a whole load of wiggly worms if you do it rather a lot. So this is why make your backing fabric a little larger so you cannot possibly cut through it.
Right.
You insert above it, underneath the layers you've got on top.
Unless you want strips.
Unless you want strips or wiggly worms. All right?
I like a wiggly worm. Yeah. Okay. So that is your Clover slash cutter, basically. 291372. only £15.29.
Yes, which is
For
really good
members.
because you get this,
you get
the
two
thing,
blades, don't you, as
2
well?
blades as well. So it's a really good. It's a Christmas present. If you've got a friend who is a quilter and perhaps wants to do something slightly different, I mean, making panels, and indeed in the Japanese folded I'm going to be doing later, you could have your folded patchwork with a soft chenille middle, with or without a wiggle if you fancied.
It's also, if you're making quilts for babies or anything like that, to get
So
that texture,
very
isn't
tactile.
it? It's very tactile.
And for visually impaired people, it's tactile.
Perfect.
For anybody who needs something that's tactile, and that just is something that's so nice to. You just got to touch
lovely,
it.
doesn't
Yes,
it?
yes. Particularly if you use a thin wool.
Amazing. So grab that, pop it in your basket. Really handy tool. Now, acrylic bundle.
Right, we've got
at all of
3 templates here.
Yes.
And I put these together again because A, you can use them for the Japanese folded.
Right.
Because you've got your triangular shapes.
You've got everything, haven't you?
And you've got your diamond shapes. And as we've done before, these are multi-sizes. And you've got your hexagon.
Can you use this for the JR Tote?
Not so easily. You could make a mini one out of that.
Okay.
Oh, and this one
Like a
also,
makeup bag, a JR
it's
Tote
not
makeup
got the
bag.
point on it, you see.
do you
So
need
the
the
other one
point?
has the point. So this will save you a bit of fabric.
Okay.
I mean, one often has them both. But these 3 were used for, and people are going to groan, but I promise I will put it on social media soon, for making the star on here. Okay, hexagon in the middle, half hexagons. There's your triangle. There's your diamond. All right,
We're getting ready for Christmas.
Yeah,
we need
that's
it. We need that
it.
pattern.
And I'm not doing. No, they've seen it 3 times. If they haven't taken notes already, then they'll have to wait. Move on.
Go to the back of the class. Did they get the look? If they haven't, you'll get the Jennie Rayment look, the death stare. 247319 if you want to grab those so that you can make your star. Now, oval placemats, great for Christmas.
These are absolutely
Great for
superb.
Christmas.
Now, I'm using these, in fact, as a stiffening agent inside my Japanese folded because it's a really inexpensive way of buying a fusible stiffening agent. Technically,
£8.09.
I know, they are. You get 4 of them.
Yeah.
They are meant to be used as placemats, and I will show very briefly later on how you make
Quite a big
placemat.
place, isn't it?
Yeah, but you see, always cut it down.
I know, that's
And
what I was thinking.
cut mine up. I cut mine up into squares, and the really neat thing about this stuff is you can join it together with a zigzag on the machine, so you don't waste any of it. Yeah.
So you could actually cut it down so that you have a slightly smaller placemat, and then you can have some coasters as well.
Yes.
Yes.
Because you can join the bits together
Yes.
and cut the shape out.
Perfect.
So really good thing that, and it's a very good way of buying a fusible, double-sided fusible interfacing.
And you can make your Christmas placemats as well. Great for Christmas markets.
Yes.
Perfect.
Definitely.
£8.09. There we go. 339770. Lots of uses for that.
Done.
Now fabrics.
Fabrics.
We need fabrics.
We've got to have fabrics. So we've got the cutting things, we've got the rulers, we have the fabrics. Now this is called Pamela.
Hello, Pamela.
And I like Pamela.
So is my mother-in-law.
Is it? My
She's
mother
a
was
Pamela.
called Pamela too.
Pamela's all
And
round.
it reminds me of Mum in a funny sort of way, because she was sort of that little bit of flowers and those few little itsy bitsy dots. So you've got 3 sets of dots and 3 sets of florals, fat quarters. They tone together. They're just nice, pretty fabrics. And when we do the 9 o'clock show, there's a rather nice trip around the world quilt that I made using the Pamela fabrics.
Using Pamela.
And it does go together very nicely. So that is Pamela.
She gets around.
She gets around
She
indeed.
gets around. £8.99. 327152 for your 6 fat quarters of Pamela.
Then we've got spots. I must confess, I do like spots.
Wow.
Just rip it off, woman. Pull
Well,
it off.
you know, I like to keep the ribbons, so
Yes.
I'm delicate with these things. Right, so lots of... Oh, no, you made your triangle.
Yes,
out of
I use the
this.
spots out of that. Because I'm afraid I like spots. I like bright colours, you know, on these cold, grey, damp winter mornings. We need bright,
you up.
sparky colours.
Absolutely.
Yes. But you could make the triangle thing out of Pamela if you preferred. So again, 6 fat quarters, coordinating colours. Great for the nursery, great for children, great for the beach, you know, thinking
great
next
for
year.
anyone that
Great
needs
for
cheering
anything.
up.
Cheering up,
And
absolutely.
actually, you can, if you've
But
got
look, you've
florals,
also
you can
got
mix and match with them.
Christmas, you've got Christmas. But you see, sometimes people are doing Christmases in shades of turquoise these days.
I know they are, with
Which is
silver.
very different. So you've got that for Christmas, and blue and orange go together very well. And
My
indeed
Christmas,
pink.
I have to tell you, is in shades of that.
Yes.
And silver.
Well,
That's
why
my
not?
Christmas.
Mine's red and green.
Lovely, traditional. £8.09 for those. We've sorted out our Christmas decorations. Fine. £8.09 for those 6 fat quarters. 309973 is your item number for that. Now,
Right, now you've got the pastels. And these are very pretty. One of these I particularly like because if you can't sew straight, all you've got to do is sew down the edges of the squares, you see.
Oh, amazing.
They are printed remarkably well, so all you've got to do is if you sew on the squares, and that's quite a good base for doing miniature log cabins on. So again, you've got 6 fat quarters that coordinate together, you can mix and match, and it will make an excellent placemat. One of these goes on one side, you press it on, turn it over, one of them goes on the other side. The leftover bits can be used for binding it with.
I'm a big fan of a good repeat pattern, so that I don't have to. I can just follow it for cutting out.
Yep. And it works
It's a
well.
cheat.
Yes, it is.
But I like it. If you want to get these gorgeous fat quarters, 6 of these, you've got a right good mix in there as well, haven't you? There's
Yes, you
sort of
have,
something
but
for everyone.
they all sort of mix and match and tone in together with each one. So you've got your flowery, you've got your dotty, you've got your spotty, and you've got the pretties.
And it's all good. £8.99. Bargain. Now, sometimes we just need the plains. But these plains go beautifully with the spots.
They go beautifully with the spots, and they are a thicker fabric. They are a canvas fabric, this.
Oh,
so
they
it's
feel
a
amazing.
slightly firmer fabric. Now, I've used this for doing some tucked up circles, and it really
Feels
did.
a bit linen-y.
Yes, it tucked up an absolute treat. I'd have said it was a linen. I mean, they are pure cotton, but it is just a thicker weave. And you could mix them together. Or, of course, you could put something else with it, like your turquoisey one or something like that with it. So, you know, you could mix and match. So they really do go remarkably well with that lot.
They
I
do,
mean,
don't
think
they?
of a quilt, think of a bag, think of just bright, sunny, smiley days with lovely bright colours.
I mean, you could have this as the outside because it's got
Yes.
that sturdier quality to it, and then have this as your lining,
Yes,
couldn't you,
you could
inside?
do. I mean, you're making placemats and things.
Yeah.
You could get probably 2 placemats. If you cut it really carefully, you can just about get 2 placemats out, particularly if you squeeze a bit off your placemat, make it a bit smaller. And perhaps the caravan, the boat, something like that.
Whatever you're
Holidays,
doing.
thinking bright colours.
Cheer it up.
Cheer it up. Yep.
Cheer it up on these winter days. £8.99 if you're part of the club. 358158. This is new today. I like.
I liked it too. I enjoy working with it as well.
Now, if you're going to make
One of them there.
pyramid,
Yes.
one of them there pyramids,
Something to stuff in it will be useful.
you need some of this.
These are little plastic beady things. They're like sort of little seedy things. Please be careful, they are not for eating. All right, so be careful with them.
would you eat them?
Well, it's not you would eat them, it's the children might eat them.
Oh, yes.
Right, so they are small, they are not sweeties, they are not for use in cooking.
I thought you'd heard that, you know, I get a bit hungry and just generally eat everything in sight. Not these,
No.
not these.
These are a great filling thing and they weigh it down nicely. So they're great for putting inside your pin cushions. Many people have a thread catcher which they put, which has a little sort of pin cushiony thing that sits on the top.
Yes.
Those would be great for weighing it down. I would mix that with the pyramid in with various other bits of torn up stuff because that gives it a squidgy feel as well as adds a bit of weight to it. So really good stuff.
Door stoppers as well. You
Door
can put
stoppers,
them in
anything.
there.
You
And
don't
House
have to
of
have the
Alistair.
entire thing. You just
No,
got to use
mix
part
and
of
match.
it. Mix and match.
House of Alistair, you know, it's really good quality. I like Alistair.
Yeah.
Have you met him?
No, I haven't.
Really nice guy. Really lovely, lovely man. New today. £8.99. Don't pay that. Pay £8.09. That's better. 358168 if you're part of the club. Right, nice man, House of Alistair. Scottish.
Okie dokie. Clover mini yarn as per normal. Great little bit of kit, and this is good for doing what we're doing with the Japanese folded because it'll just get into those little corners to ease. If you're choosing to go with a bonded product, to ease the bonding and
I like
adhere
this
it down
piece of
because
kit.
it gets in all the corners.
And it's on FlexiPay.
Even better. So
I-
everything else can go into your flexi basket.
This is a great piece of kit. It's one of those things you don't know you need it until
No,
you've got it,
no.
and then you
Yes.
realise just how much you needed it for getting into all those
Always,
little
yes.
corners.
And just having something small beside you that you can iron with.
Absolutely. 192527. If you want to get that on FlexiPay, just £18 over 2 flexi payments.
Right.
All done and
Done.
dusted then.
Last, very quickly, 2 products because...
Oh, hang on.
What?
Hang on. It's our Flexi Holiday event as well.
Oh,
Which means that
right.
you don't pay in December.
No,
I
so
didn't
you get-
realise.
You get the whole... Don't pay till December.
No, don't pay. You don't pay December.
You don't
so you
pay
pay
December?
now, then you skip out December so that you can do whatever you need to do for Christmas, and then you pay again in January.
Brilliant, absolutely superb.
Isn't
So
that
you get
good?
sort of
Spreads that
a
cost.
month off in the middle.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Just to
Yep.
have a little
Because
breather.
you don't want to be sort of hit with everything, say perhaps in December.
Yeah.
You can then tide it over.
Absolutely.
Well
so you
done
can still
for
get these
remembering.
things.
Even
I was
better.
told. I
Yep.
didn't remember. I was told.
No, and just pretend you remember.
Oh, yeah, no, I remembered. Amazing.
Very quickly, 2 books. These are our books on messing around with fabric. Again, I should be demonstrating a bit more from one of these books when we do the 9 o'clock show. But a reason for these here is that the circle and slash ruler is very good for when you're doing circles. And circles appear in both these books. A bit in this one and a bit in that one. You do the housekeeping because we need to get on with the classroom.
We do, yes. $26.99 gets you both of these. Both books. So, I mean, that's a bargain, really, isn't
a
it?
bargain.
For all of that knowledge from you, £24.29. 279323 is your item now there. And then, of course, very, very quickly, we've got the DVDs here.
Well, again,
Do you
that
do
is
these as
there.
well?
Yes.
Yes.
Because the Daisy Delight and Flora Adorable, you can mark your daisy out using that slash cutter.
Right.
Because it's marked out at 30 degrees. Or indeed, you could extend the principle and have more petals and mark your basic square, which you cut up into 15 degrees and have 24 petals.
So
So
23.39.
that's jolly good. You've got
It is,
about
isn't it?
over 4 hours of me.
4
And
hours.
you can pause me, and you can turn me off, and if you do pause me, my mouth will be open.
That's less than £6.
It's much cheaper than a
Catching
lesson.
flies.
Yes, catching flies.
£6 an hour, basically,
Yes, you see.
is what that
So
works
if you
out
came to a
at.
workshop, that's exactly what you'd hear in the workshop. I probably wouldn't be made up and tarted up as much as I am there, but you'd hear exactly that. So you've got 2 workshops there, so you could be
And you
paying
looking lovely.
90 quid, yes.
You could be paying £90, and your travel,
And
and,
your travel,
everything,
and
else,
everything else.
and you've got to remember your
And
lunch.
you can sit in your gym jams and watch me there.
Amazing. With a cup of tea. Perfect. 2339 is your item number there. 337744 is your item number there.
Right. Are we
Yeah.
going to mention the caddy?
We're going to mention the sewing machine.
You're going to mention the sewing machine?
Let's have a look at
right.
the quick
I'm
look at
going
the
to
sewing
clutter
machine.
up here
So
for
we
the sewing
have
machine.
got our Simplicity sewing machine. Here it is. This is on our FlexiPay holiday. I like this FlexiPay holiday idea. So it's just £28.50.
That is incredible price.
Isn't that amazing?
And that's a really good, I'll be demonstrating that on the 9 o'clock show.
That's a
taking you
Christmas
through all the
present
stitches.
price.
And do you know what I'm going to do?
What?
I'm going to make Martin sew.
Amazing.
Yes,
That I
you
have
see,
to
because
see.
we've got 2 machines on the show. We've got this one and his
One for Martin.
greater sister, or her greater sister, on the show as well. So there are 2 coming up.
Ooh, 358,776. An amazing price for that machine, just incredible. So if you want to get that overdue flex payments, you can less than £30. Now another sewing machine that we have got for you is this. This is the one that's on at 9 o'clock.
This is the one that's on at 9 o'clock
Is this
as
the one
well.
you're going to let Martin loose on?
No, I'm going to let him loose on the other one.
Okay.
He's going to be let loose on cotton. I'm having lace.
Do it.
Because lace has got 29 stitches.
Woo! 3 payments here of just. I will work that in a minute. 358,751. It's how much, sorry? £37.50 over 3 flexi payments, rather.
And a flexi holiday.
And a flexi holiday. That's good, isn't it?
It's a really good, solid
good.
little machine, that.
We've got more sewing machines.
Yep.
It's all about the sewing machines this morning. Look at all of these. Oh, we've got a storage caddy next. Oh, I thought we had another sewing machine.
No,
storage caddy.
But
Here
you
we go.
can use a storage caddy to put your sewing machine on the top and trundle the whole lot into your class, or you can tuck the storage caddy under the table, and every single thing on this show could be tidied away into that. Your
love
partner
the
would be
storage
truly
caddy.
delighted.
Oh, I know. I love the fact that it's on 4 wheels and you can wheel it everywhere. At the NEC yesterday, the number of women that wished that they had 4 wheels on their wheelie
Wagon.
things that they bought.
Yep.
Just brilliant. And of course, it's got you can put all your long rulers in that as well. A brilliant piece of kit. 3 flexi payments of just £27. 330598 is your item number for that. Now, Jenny.
Yes. You can go and have a sit down.
Oh, can I?
Yes. You can clutter off. It's my go now. Yay!
Can I just look?
No.
what there?
You can go and sit and watch it on the screen over there. It's the Quilting Classroom, folks. So are you sitting down? Have you pressed the record button? Because you are now going to find out how you're going to make this amazing bit of kit to prop your various devices up against. Poor Tasha, she doesn't know about the Quilting Classroom, so she has to go and sit down and only rescue me if needed, if I suddenly collapse or turn green at the gills. This particular thing is made by taking 4 triangles. Now, you can do it any size. I chose to make it using 9-inch triangles. On the ruler we have here, you have a variety of lines, and I chose to use 9. If you wanted to make it bigger, you could use another line. If you want to make it smaller, you could use one of the others. But you will need 4 triangles. Easiest way to do it is to lay the fabric out, put the ruler on the top, and cut yourself a triangle. Now, I use the spotty fabrics. I'm going to get rid of this in the time-honoured way and dump it on the floor. Once you have cut 4 triangles, they need to be laid out as a bigger triangle. And what I want you to watch is just watch where the straight grain is. This triangle has a straight edge here and a stretchy one and a stretchy one. And you want to lay them out so that you get all the straight grains in the same place. So I'm going to put my navy blue one at the top. There's his straight grain. I'm going to put the pink one below, so the straight grain of the pink one is aligned with the straight grain of the blue one. I'm going to put a green one to one side. Now, there is a PDF for this, so you can watch these things on the PDF, or of course you can download the PDF and you've got a memory of what I did afterwards. The green one goes there, straight grain, and the brown one's going to go here, straight grain. I'm going to sew all 4 together to make one considerably larger triangle. And when you do sew them together, I like to press the seams open and flat, simply because I think it reduces bulk. So sew them together and you now will have a nice big triangle. Now, the pyramid is going to work basically by sewing 2 sides together, and if I hold those 2 together there and hold it upright, you can begin to see, if I flop the bottom under, how the pyramid actually works. So move number 1 is we need to sew 2 of the sides of the triangle together. So I'm going to sew the green and the blue side together. Line them up, and using a 1/4 inch seam allowance, you're going to sew all the way down there, basically making, and here's one I did earlier, a sort of larger triangle shape. So I've stitched all the way down that edge. Seems to require a bit of paper as well. That is sewing two of the sides of the pyramid together. But we need to make something to prop the device up on. And here I had a problem. Now, this is not wholly my idea. This idea, in fact, came from a student of mine who brought me something similar. And she had used padding to make the little prop for her device. So many thanks to Dee for your idea. I have translated it and changed it considerably. This little pad here could be stuffed, or you could have some form of stiffening in it. And I thought, what could I put in it? And then I thought, doweling. So I cut a short 6-inch length of doweling in this case. But if you hadn't got any doweling, what would work an absolute treat would be something like an old pen. All you really need is something that is short, but say 6 inches long, and round about a 1/2 inch diameter. You know, you can rack your brains for something firm to use. If you are going to use a pen, I'd simply snap the clip off it so you don't want that sticking out. So you need something short, stiff and round about 6 inches. I then cut a strip of fabric. And from one of the other spotty fabrics, because I was using a pack of fat quarters, this was where that really rather nice 4.5 inch ruler was very useful, because I was able to cut a strip easily 4.5 inches deep, and I went for 7 inches long. Obviously, if you are changing your size of your triangles to make a bigger or smaller pyramid, you could adjust the length of the little prop to hold the device up. But I went for 4.5 by 7. I took this bit of fabric and folded it in half. Now, I felt it would be much better if it had a bit of extra substance to it, so wadding was a good answer. So a small scrap of wadding is where you can use up all your various pieces. Laid the piece on top of the wadding. Here's one I did. So I stitched my folded little square, folded rectangle rather, onto the wadding, just down the sides only. So sewed down there and down there. So small amount of wadding going directly underneath this, and then sew down the two short sides. If you then turn this little bag right side out, you will have a padded bag. And that was when I then chose to insert my bit of stiffening. Because I felt this was a bit bald to put it in as it was, I decided it might be quite a good idea to just glue, or of course if you're a purist you could always sort of lash it with a few threads, glue something around the stick or the pen. A perfectly plain ordinary glue would do, basically one of these paper stick glues would do the job perfectly well. So glue your wadding to whatever stiffening device you've chosen to use. And it'll end up looking something like that. Insert your padded stick into the little bag. When you've done that, it needs to be held in place. And to hold it in place, I did 2 lines of stitch. The first line of stitch I did as close to the padded stick as I possibly could do. And that is where the zipper foot on the sewing machine is really useful, because you can get the zip foot running very close to the edge of the fabric. I then sewed along the edge here just to hold the open ends together. So you've made your little stick. He's got to be stitched onto the part of the triangle to make the pyramid. He needs to go onto the bottom of the pyramid. So if I put it back like that, you can see where is the bottom. So I'm simply going to take my little stick and stitch him on, making sure it's coming inwards into it, because otherwise you have a horrible surprise when you open it out to find that you've got raw edges there and the sticks on the inside. So it needs to be positioned in the center of the side of the triangle and stitched in place. And here's one I did earlier. So there it is now, all stitched in place. When you stitch it in place, you simply fold it, make sure it's on the inside, put the other 2 pieces back, and we're going to sew the sides together. Put some pins in it to hold it nice and still. That's a really rubbish pin, that one. I don't know why I keep them. You realise at nights I sit at home and count my pins. No, I don't. I am telling fibs. I don't really count my pins. Well, I might do. So pin it all the way along one side, and then to the machine. Now, on this little machine, if I wanted to do 1/4 inch, all I have to do is move the needle from the A position to the B position, and that shifts the needle right over. Take your triangle, pop it underneath there, stick it underneath the machine, lower the presser foot. I like to drop the needle down before I begin, find the foot control, and of course you'll be sitting down, and sew along. Now, your stitch length wants to be round about regular, and of course remember, as we get to the pins, you will take the pins out, because we don't sew over pins, do we? Proceed in orderly fashion, removing the pins as you go. When you get to the end, we can take it out, all the way along there to that. I know I'm not using a thread saver and you're going tut-tut, but I haven't got a piece of scrap fabric to hand. Where's the thread cutter? There it is. Right, so now I've sewn the next side of the pyramid. All you need to do is sew the last side all the way along here. When you've sewn the last side all the way along here, you'll be able to, sorry, not all the way along here, forget that. You need to leave a gap. Please leave a gap, because you can't turn it through. Yeah, I nearly got it wrong and forgot to leave the gap. Once you've sewn along, so just let me sew this a bit quick and you'll see. So back underneath there again, lower your presser foot, drop your needle down, and the action of dropping the needle down starts the stitch. Sew along a bit, there's no need to go backwards and forwards, and if you really want to, pull the work out, readjust the edges, jump, leave a hole, leave a reasonable sized hole, big enough to turn the thing through, to the end, and finish off. Right, and that basically is it, folks, because all you now need to do is to turn the thing through the hole. Cut your threads. Where's my scissors gone to? There they are. So cut the threads there and turn it through the hole. And when you've turned it through the hole, let's get the whole thing through there, you will be able to stuff it. Now, I stuffed mine because I didn't have any of those wonderful House of Alistair beads with torn up bits of bubble wrap. But you need to have something in it that is a bit squidgy. So what I will be inclined to do is to fill it with perhaps bits of bubble wrap and those rather nice House of Alistair beads. And there you have a very good prop to prop up your device. And whether you want to have it this way or whether you want to have it that way, it's entirely up to you. And of course it's going to keep it at the right angle, and you can always squidge it around a bit to change the angle of that. So there we have the device. All right, and that's all on the PDF. And that was using that very good 12-inch high 60-degree triangle. But what I really wanted to do today was to take you through doing Japanese folded patchwork. Let me get rid of all that little lot, and indeed the template. Japanese folded patchwork is the art of wrapping a circle over a square. Now, when I started to do this, I decided I would use the circle and slash ruler. And the reason for using this is I find this a very good tool. It's not only a good tool because occasionally I need centimetres and it's got it down the side, but it's got all these markings and it's marked out in 15 degrees all the way around. So I can choose 30s and I can choose 15s. You may remember that on the last classroom we did the circle, where I had to mark the circle out at 30 degrees. That tool was very useful and it was in the PDF for that particular piece. You could use the same tool for marking the daisy in the Daisy Delight part of Floradorable. And of course, if you chose to do the daisy in the Pamela fabrics, it could look remarkably good. So there is Pamela and the daisy. You could also use this for marking out your basic circles for making a tucked circle. And you'll find tucked circles appear in both my books. Because we can mark it out at 24 degrees, you can do all the markings all the way around your circles. Before you then cut the hole out in the middle, you would fold the fabric on a set of marks and you sew a series of seams. These seams can then be embellished, and embellishing you'll find is in the first book, how to actually add a satin stitch down the edge. The centre then gets covered up with a circular hole, and of course you could use the circle that's on this to make the middle. When you've covered up the circular hole, you can then twiddle the tucks. And this was where that Bright's canvas fabric was really good. Now, one thing you mustn't do is when you apply the new circle in the middle, I tend to do it in the old-fashioned way of circle over cardboard, stick it in the middle, and then cut all the rubbish away from the back. Sadly, I made this at a quilt show I was at last week in Duxford, and look what I did. I cut a hole in the front. So you might think, oh, she's always perfect, and oh no, she always isn't. My intention was to have for today, to actually have had it all mounted onto the wonderful spotty fabric, but sadly it's yet another work in progress. So I'm going to use for the Japanese circle this tool, but Japanese folded patchwork, this particular tool, but you need some form of stiffening. And I decided that I would use the Bosal placemats. Now, if you are going to be using the Bosal placemats, just as a placemat, the way that you would do it will be to take a piece of fabric and iron it literally to one side of the mat. Cut it back to the edges of the mat and then iron another piece of fabric to the other side. Having ironed a piece of fabric to both sides, you can then trim off any excess material and literally do nothing more complex than just bind it. So that's what the mats are meant for, but I decided to use it for stiffening for my particular design. Now, to make the Japanese folded, you are going to need a square and a circle. And I chose to use, on this particular tool, the 14-inch circle all the way round. It will need a 4 1/4 inch square for the middle, and I'll come to the mathematics in a moment. Move number 1 will be to draw your circle on the fabric. Now, there are several ways of actually constructing Japanese folded, but you are going to need a circle. If you're going to be drawing the circle on the fabric, if you draw the midline first, it makes it considerably easier, because you can then place the template on the top, mark the center, draw one arc and turn the template over and draw the other arc. So you will end up with something that looks a bit like this. If you're going to do a lot of them, may I suggest, make yourself a cardboard circle. It does make life a little easier. So you draw your circle on the back of the fabric on the wrong side. One way of making the circle to cover the square in Japanese folded is to put the fabric right side together with a piece of interfacing. So all the way round the edge of the design, right the way round, hard on the edge exactly, and when you've sewn all the way round, you cut back to that very edge. Having done that, we turn it to the back, and this is where we use a trick I've used so many times, make a snip in the interfacing. As I know you were saying, oh, we can't turn it through, can we? If you make a snip in the interfacing, you can then turn it through the interfacing and go all the way around the circle with your finger, making it nice and flat. And that is where the Clover mini iron is remarkably good, because you really can get that edge nice and flat. So give it a very good press all the way around with that particular edge once you've turned it through. Now, that is one way of making the circle. I'll come to a couple of other ways in a moment. Not only will you need that circle, but you will need a piece of the mat as stiffening. I used 4 1/4 inch squares for that particular size of circle. And it was fairly obvious you could actually get 6 4 1/4 inch squares out of your mat. But the great thing about this stuff is, if you happen to mess up and you don't quite cut it accurately, you can always join the bits together using a zigzag on your machine, and then simply cut out the square from the bits you've joined together, so you waste nothing. So pieces can be joined together. You're going to need a 4 1/4 inch square. What happens then is you want a 4 1/4 inch square of fabric, and you will press the two together. So iron the fabric to the square. Now, it is ever so easy when you are doing that to not only press the fabric to the square, but turn the thing over and iron the other side. We just do that. Don't, because this is double-sided fusible, and if you turn it over the other side, you might get glue on your little Clover iron, or another iron if you happen to be using one. So we need a circle and a square. Where's my next lot of pieces? There they are. What will happen then is you will take your wonderful square that you've pressed the fabric to, lay it in the middle of the circle, and be a little bit careful about this. Pop it right in the middle, and I would pin it in place. What happens then is you're going to fold opposite sides of the circle over, and I tend to go opposite sides because that makes it more even, so I can pull one side against the other. So fold the sides over the centerpiece in the middle and pin them in place. Now, you might be saying to yourself, I don't want to go to all that trouble to make my circles. Is there another way? You could have made that circle by drawing round on a piece of fusible glue. One of the proprietary makes a fusible glue. Drawing the line of the circle, bonding the fusible glue web to the back of the fabric, and then cutting it out. And there's no reason why you can't then actually glue the circle over the square. If you didn't fancy doing it that way, another way that could be done, and this is made out of a circle made out of 2 pieces of fabric. We'll discuss that more later in the show. But you could take a card circle exactly the right size, cut a rough circle of fabric, gather it, and I tend to use double thread, draw it up firmly over the card, give it a good press, and then take the card out, because that will give you a nice edge all the way around the fabric. Tell you something, they don't do dusting in the studio. I seem to have put it on a very dusty surface. So if you then take it out, you'll have a nice neat edge around the edge, and you can then wrap that over your centre section. But I've used the ones with the interfacing trick. So pin opposite sides together. That doesn't look dead even. Let's move it over a bit. There we go. And then pin the remaining 2 sides. And then it's to the sewing machine. And this is where you can have fun playing with a variety of stitches. You could use perhaps a blanket stitch, you could use a blind hem stitch, you could use a decorative pattern. And one of the patterns on this little machine that I particularly liked was the one that is in the D mode, which was a rather nice little, it's the, I forget, sort of the honeycomb pattern here. To get to the D mode on this machine, if you simply go to S1 on the top here and select D, gone round it the wrong way, let's go around that way, that will automatically set the machine exactly for you. Now you might be wondering why I've got the quilting guide sticking out there. You'll have to wait till the next hour to find out why that's there. I will then take the piece of work, pop it underneath there and sew all the way round. And what you're endeavouring to do is to really sew in and off the edge of the fabric. Now, if you didn't want to do this on the machine, there's no reason why this line couldn't be done with a small hand stitch. Oh dear, perish the thought. You know I don't do hand. Or it could be done literally by any other form you like. So you could use an embroidery stitch. So I'm going to work my way round, literally just sewing in and off the edge, all the way around the entire thing. And because it's nice and firm, because you've got the fusible wadding inside, it's really easy to stitch. Into the little crack here, stop, drop your needle down, raise the presser foot and turn round and continue. If you did that, say, 4 times, and if we move the ones I've got here, here's ones I did earlier, you could put these 4 together to make, say, a table mat. You could use it as a coaster. You could even put 4 together to make a box. 6 together to make a box, 1 for the bottom and the sides. And indeed, if you look at the PDF, and here is the PDF for the show, you will see there is a picture of the box on the front. I'm afraid that that's an actual cheat because I propped them up very carefully and stuck them together with masking tape, because this week I have not had time to sew these into a box. But I have made another box. And this box is made with exactly the same technique. But notice the difference in the way the circles are constructed. They are made of 2 colours. So how do you do that? Well, the answer to that is you change what you cut the circle from. So let's look at how you make a different effect with your Japanese folded. To make the box, I took 2 strips of fabric and I used 3 3/4 inch strips of fabric. You could either draw a circle on it and use the interfacing trick, or in this case I chose to go for the fusing trick, where I drew my circle of fabric, drew my circle on the fusible web and bonded it to the fabric. I then cut it out exactly. Now, a trick I learnt when I was teaching in the States a couple of weeks ago, I didn't know this, you learn all the time, was trying to get the fusible paper off the back of the fabric. I've spent ages wriggling the edge. Somebody said if you just slash it, it comes off an absolute treat. So simply put a little slash in the middle, or you can slash it several times, and it really does peel off very much more simply. So you need a circle, and now my circles are made of 2 fabrics stitched together. You'll need a square for the middle, and here is a square. The square can be positioned in 2 different ways. You could put it like that, where you will get a subtly different effect, where you'll get a different shape happening across the corners. I chose to put my square in exactly on the diagonal across the middle. So you can then fold the sides over the edge of the square and then actually just press them in place. And the Clover little mini arm was really good for doing that. And give it a real good press. So if you did, say, 6 of those, you could get quite an interesting box. And I'll come to the bit in a moment. You're saying to yourself, well, hers has got a square in the middle. Well, have patience, just wait. And I'll explain how the square gets in the middle. So we've got our circle made of 2 colours. And of course, if you turn it over, you've got triangles on the back. I could put these together like this to make quite an interesting flower in the very centre. And if I didn't like that, I could turn 2 of these round. So think of the possibilities you've got for play. 6 would make a mat, a bigger mat, 6 would make a box. You could have them in 4s. Now, if you're wondering how you get that little square in the middle there, the answer is simples. You take your initial square you're going to wrap up, and to one corner you bond another piece of fabric. It could be any colour you like. You then take your circle of material, and of course I've used the one I actually wanted. Where did I put it? There's now going to be a minor break while I find where I put the one I wanted. There it is. Let's cut another one out. Forgotten, I didn't mean to press that one in. I just meant to wrap it over it and hold it. You have no idea of how much lesson prep I do, sitting there yesterday surrounded with all these circles. So when you cut it out, remember to get the paper off the back, scratch it. Scratch it 2 or 3 times if you want, and then it peels off a treat. Much, much easier. I promise to pick up all the pieces afterwards. Then we can take our panel. Now you could decide how it's going to go. If you wanted to have it wrapped round so that that comes in the corner, place it so that you've got it exactly like that. And then you can have that coming round, so we've got like a little square coming out of 2 petals. Or indeed you could have it the other way round, so you could have the black coming out of it. The choice will be yours. But that's exactly how I constructed the shapes for this particular box. Was a red square with a black square applied in the corner. The circles were made of black and green fabric stitched together to make a strip. Now I used the cutter, the rotary cutter, the slash cutter and a square. If you wanted to change the size of it, and of course there's no reason why you couldn't have the size that's on the show, which is 4 1/4, you could go for larger, you could go for larger still and apply a heart in it, you could go for even bigger, perhaps put a heart in it and have it on the diagonal. If you need to work out the mathematics aren't difficult to do. You can do it in 2 ways. You either draw the finished size of circle, fold the circle in half and in half again, and draw lines from crease to crease. That gives you the size of the square that's on the inside. Remember that the outside circle does not have a seam allowance on, so it's great for the bonding, but if you're going to do it with a seam allowance, you'll have to cut it larger. If you're going to draw around it, remember you sew on the drawn line. If you're doing it with a square, so you want to know what the finished size is, if you fold the square in half and in half again diagonally, the diagonal of the square is the diameter of the circle. Or if you wish, if you put your compass, your pair of compasses in the middle, that is the radius of the circle that square will fit. So now you can change the size. But what if you wanted to change the shape? What if you wanted to use that nest of templates we've had on many times before? The triangle, the hexagon and the diamond. Could you use those for Japanese folded? And the answer is yes, you can. You can take diamonds. Now these were diamonds cut from the placemats, and I cut these from a 3-inch wide strip of fabric. So if you've got a 3-inch wide strip of the stiffening, take the template, place it on the fabric, get yourself a nice angled edge to begin with, and then you're going to cut a 3-inch cut, get this around the right way, all the way along there. Once you've got your diamonds, you can then use these and cover them with fabric, and you need a circle. So let's find a circle. You can take a circle that could be made of 2 colours. Take your stiffened triangle, and I'll have this one because I've slightly lost the point of that one. Lay the triangle in the middle of the circle and you literally wrap it up. If I fold one half of it over one side and fold the other half of it over the other side, this can be pressed onto the background fabric. Ditto with the other side, fold it over and fold it over again. And you want to be a little bit careful, because if you're really careful with this, and I'm not being as careful as I could be, you will end up with a nice shape going right the way across it. This is done by wrapping your circle over your diamond. Now think of the design possibilities. So make the circle from 2 fabrics. It's a bit of a waste of time to make it with just one colour, because you just end up with a covered diamond. But you could lay these things out in a variety of different patterns. And again, you'll see it on the PDF, the fact that I've laid it out. So we could lay it out in a star. Think Christmas fabrics. Think what you could do with that as Christmas fabrics. Now I'm being challenged, there we go. And if you didn't like that, you could turn it round and you could play with it. So the potential for playing with these shapes, let's get them around the right way, is absolutely tremendous. You really could play, and of course you can use one side rather than use the other side. So you can do Japanese folded over diamonds. Could you do it over hexagons? And the answer is yes, you can. So if you cut a hexagon shape, there's going to be a wonderful mess to clear up after this show. If you cut a hexagon shape out, and here is where the hexagon template is really useful, and then cut yourself a circle, there's no reason why you can't lay the hexagon in the middle and literally wrap the circle over the hexagon. And once again, the Clover mini iron is great because it just presses enough. And I've got a bonded fabric on here, so I can glue it over the edge. I haven't done that very well, but it's being done very quickly. So you could take a hexagon and wrap a hexagon over a circle. And think of the design possibilities for that. So this brings a whole new meaning into what you can do with hexagons. And of course, there's no reason why you can't, and I shall leave this for you to ponder, is to actually wrap a hexagon over a triangle. And if you cut a 4.5-inch triangle with the template that we've got and a hexagon, you can wrap it over the edges of it. So you can see, with a bit of play, and we need to allow ourselves time to play. We don't give ourselves enough time to actually sit down and play. But you could, with a bit of the Bosal stiffened placemats and a bit of fabric and some of those templates, come up with some super duper ideas. Tasha, come back and join me. Right. You're allowed back now.
I'll just climb over everything you've thrown on the floor there, Jenny. Who's clearing up?
Me. Well, actually, not. It's Charlotte, because I got to go to the next show, so she has strict instructions. And what she will do, she has a big bag. She goes, woof.
I like that.
And
that's my
I go
kind of
home,
tidying.
and I then have to, do I really want that piece of fabric? Really, have I got to keep that bit of fabric, you see?
Right, let's have a quick reminder of where you can find the PDF on the website, because that's the really important thing, isn't it? So if you go into the Quilting Classroom, click on current lesson.
Yep. And where it says
Download
coming soon,
project.
they'll load it for you.
Yeah, and
There
there
it
it is. Da, da, da. That's easy then, isn't it?
Yes, it is. So you see, I labour over these things. Actually, they're always rather nice, because I only do them in black and white on my printer, because I'm too mean to do them in colour, but they look nice.
They do look lovely. And you get, you get all those beautiful fabrics.
Yeah, you see?
Lovely.
That's
So
pretty good,
very,
that.
very step-by-step, easy
Yep.
instructions.
Yes.
Beautiful. So it's all there for you. Now let's have a look at what we've got. So
Thank
just
you.
in case you've watched any and gone, oh yeah, no, I do need a few bits
Yes,
and bobs.
yes.
Let's have a look at the bits and bobs. This is a good bit and bob, isn't it? This
Very
is
good
your
bit and bob.
60-degree triangle. That's what you've been using this hour, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So 295391 is your item number there. £15.29. Pop that in your basket if you need it. Now, here we go. This is your slash and circle ruler. I've never seen one of these,
Haven't
but
you?
I
It's
like it.
such a useful bit of
Isn't
kit.
it?
I tried to have it on last time's class, and for some reason it got missed off. So a lot of people have got the PDF for last time's classroom, and they ain't got the tool. You've now got the tool, folks.
Yeah, £17.99 gets you that tool. 291379 is your item number there. You're going to need the slash cutter, aren't you, really, to go with it? Let's be
It's
honest.
such a nice tool, that thing.
It's
yes.
amazing,
Because you
look at
can
it.
make that tactile, super duper furry stuff.
Yeah. £15.29 gets you that super duper tool. 291372 is your item number there. And if you want Jennie Rayment in the comfort of your own home, whenever
And you can wear
need
your
her,
jammies.
to wear in your jammies,
Or
pause
without
her,
anything on at all, if you
well,
really
I mean,
must.
if that's how you...
Because you could prop your laptop up on...
Hang on. If you're using sharp tools, health and safety, Jenny,
That's true,
health
but
and
no,
safety.
you aren't using sharp tools because you'll be
Be
watching
watching.
me, and you could put me on your tablet, you see, and prop it up on that triangular thing and watch me in
Job done.
comfort at the
There you
right
go.
angle.
$23.39 for both of those DVDs. 4 hours of Jenny there. 337744 is your item number there. And then the clover iron. What a handy little piece of kit this is. 20% of this is already gone because, well, you know it's really handy. And it's on FlexiPay with the Flexi holiday, which means that you don't pay in December. Have a holiday from paying in December, pay for all your Christmas, get that done, and then start paying again in January. So 2 payments of just £18 to get that. And if you've got that Flexi basket open, then maybe there are a few other things.
You could just pop that fabric and stuff like that in, those placemats.
Those placemats. Talking of the placemats, Jenny, here they are. Oh, they've sold out. No, they're not. Yeah, no, they've gone.
They've gone?
Yeah, they've
Oh,
gone.
how
Sorry
very,
about that.
very sensible and well done for getting them.
Yeah, if you got them, good work. If you didn't get them, ooh, sorry, next time maybe. Let's have a look at some fabrics. Pamela.
Pamela? What's
Here
happened
she
to
is.
Pamela?
Pamela.
I like Pamela.
There's the
yes.
fat quarters. This is Pamela. $8.99 gets you Pamela in your own home. 327152 is your item number there. And then the beanie bag, the beans for the beanie bag.
They
From
are
House of
just such
Alistair.
a useful thing to have around. I mean, think of stuffing your beanie bags, stuffing your pin cushions, anything like that.
Toys for the kids?
Yes.
Just pop it in. £8.09. 358168 is your item number there.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Bargain.
these.
Now, let's have a look at the circle ruler very, very quickly.
Yes.
Half the stock of this is gone.
Right, let me put this behind it and you can see what you've got on it again. I'll even have it the right way up. There you are.
Go
that
on,
was for
treat
viewers in
us.
Australia.
Treat us.
Slash and circle ruler. So you've got all your angles on here. Okay, it's marked out in centimetres and even not 16ths, but centimetre. It's in millimetres all the way around the edge there. So you've got very accurate tools and you can make a wiggly line and it gives you the repeat measurement along there. I think it's a nice bit of kit, that one.
It's a great present as
just
well,
good.
isn't it?
It's a great present, yes.
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 $17.99
And it comes with a
gets you
variety
that.
of instructions on the back, if you turn it over, as to ways in which you can use it. So you're not left abandoned and wobbling around in the snow. or
Now,
whatever.
Jenny, you are up next hour.
I
as
know,
well,
I'm
aren't you?
about to
You're
run
here
the
with
other side of the
Martin.
studio.
I know,
you see?
I know.
And again, make Martin so.
I know. Does he know?
Sort of.
Does he? Have you warned him?
Sort of.
Is that why he doesn't look very happy?
Sort of.
He'll be fine. He'll love it. He'll love it. Thank you so much, Jenny.
you, Dad.
I enjoyed my cup of tea.
Good.
I hope you enjoyed the show. And yeah, enjoy your next
See you
hour with
next time.
Martin.
I will
See
indeed.
you
Thank
very,
you.
very soon. Thank you very much
Bye-bye.
for joining us. We'll see you in a little bit. Bye-bye.